The Pudgy's Tavern incident serves as Kyle Rittenhouse's beer hall putsch, a defining moment where his life took a detour through a boulevard of hypocritical scorn. At this unassuming outpost, Kyle met members of the Proud Boys. Someone named Lily of the Trenches raised the alarm, emailing local Kenosha activist and general all-around loser Whitney Cabal, and carbon copying every news outlet she could conjure for good measure. Whitney at that point began calling the police, telling them that she was concerned about the safety of the business and its owner. Sure, Whitney. Social media went berserk with its proof that Kyle was a clandestine white supremacist, meeting up with his Hitler homies to plot the downfall of BLM. But a recent documentary uncovered more footage of Kyle's interactions inside the bar. Like all things related to the Kenosha shootings, there's a lot to unpack here. Hello out there. I am trying to get through.
With cold, blunt analysis cradled in the warmth of reasoning, it's time for Johnny Walker Dread to straighten you out on a thing or two. Emanating all the way from exciting Las Vegas, Oklahoma, it's time for the Johnny Walker Dread Show.
One of the defendant's first court appearances in January of 2021 was followed up by immediately going to a bar in Racine, Wisconsin, where he met up with a group of Proud Boys.
Well, this is a bar, and Kyle is clearly having a beer. The public outcry that Kyle's drinking broke laws didn't generate any legs, and we don't hear this complaint too often anymore. Apparently, it's possible to teach an anti-Kyle something. Notice I've circled David Hancock. More about him in a moment.
The Proud Boys are a right-wing group that has been associated with anti-Semitic beliefs. They hate watch monitors say they are a white supremacist group.
And at the bar, these members of the Proud Boys literally serenaded Kyle Rittenhouse with their anthem out loud. Singing it at the top of their lungs, and we've got this on video because there's multiple cameras in the bar that captured this whole thing.
So the other criticism centered on white supremacy. It turns out that Kyle's company were in fact Proud Boys, a group that's hard to define, although they seem to be hard right libertarians with a belief system that the left considers unsavory. Are they white supremacists? Well, that's kind of hard to say. Most of those commenting on their allegiances actually know very little about them. I'm certainly no expert. But for the sake of argument, we'll adopt the popular notion that they are the second coming of David Duke. Again, let me point out David Hancock. That's Kyle's security dude, and one that Kyle's family hired to protect Kyle's public image as an innocent cherub caught up in the trouble of others' doing. And you'll notice he has his back turned to all of those who could hurt Kyle if they so wished.
So I can make myself taller, or smarter, or handsomer, I'll do my best.
They're also...
I need to say something also about this serenading. I mean, is this serenading? They're not even looking at Kyle, and in fact, he seems to be barely paying attention to them. When I heard that they serenaded him, I thought they had gathered around him, with each one on their knee, belting out song while they held out their arms in welcome. And who among us would listen to this song and think, oh yeah, these are violent white supremacists? The lyrics go something like this. Proud of your boy, I'll make you proud of your boy. Believe me, bad as I've been, Ma, you're in for a pleasant surprise. I've wasted time, I've wasted me, so say I'm slow for my age, a late bloomer, okay, I agree. Who among us would pick out the white supremacy in those words? I figured the lyrics must have gone something like this. Black people drive me crazy, they dropped the football before reaching the goal line, and George Floyd can kiss my white ass. Or something like that. Now, I'm just kidding, okay? Don't take the lyrics that I created here seriously.
flashing this symbol, this OK sign.
The OK sign is a sign that has been appropriated by white supremacist groups for meaning white power.
The OK hand sign, I didn't know what it's become. I knew it then to be okay, as the guy said. I gave my thumbs up at first. I was like, oh, thumbs up, okay. And then the guy said, hey, tell everybody you're okay. I can see how it's perceived, but that's not who I am as a person. It's not what I believe in. Just thought they were like some guys getting off a construction site.
If Mr. Rittenhouse didn't know beforehand who these people were, it was quite clear when he was there who these people were. This is not just a chance meeting at a bar. This is a deliberate association.
Why does he say that? He claims that this couldn't have been chance. Who's to say that? He says that Kyle had to have known who they were. Why? He never justifies those claims. And we'll talk about that more here in a moment.
The narrative for Kyle Rittenhouse after seeing him posing with Proud Boys was cemented.
It is time to soak in the meaning of this video still. David Hancock is the head of Kyle's security detail, tasked with ensuring that no one with ill intent gets within strangling distance of the most hated kid in America. It is hard to understand David's comfort level here. Clearly he sees no threat from this group of men, even though he would later claim to not knowing them. The meaning of the photo goes beyond safety, however. You see, David was also in charge of building in Kyle the wholesome imagery that helped Notre Dame quarterbacks with losing records win Heisman trophies. Congregating with members of the Proud Boys was obviously not in Mark Richards' How to Make the Prosecutor Your Bitch playbook. So why is David taking pictures of Kyle chumming around with them? So we must ask, did David know who these men were? If so, this drives a splinter through David's claim that he was the lone safeguard against the public claiming Kyle was a chalk-colored miscreant. David has no choice here but to claim ignorance of their true identities, and as far as I can tell, he's never said he knew who they were. In fact, he blamed John Pierce for setting up the meeting with the Proud Boys without his knowledge. Given that he has had plenty of mingling time with these men, it's pretty clear that he didn't know who they were when he was snapping pics of Kyle posing with them. Given that, how could one reasonably expect Kyle to know their allegiances? For his part, Kyle claimed he didn't know who they were either. Coupled with David's seeming acceptance of their company, we can safely assume that Kyle considered the men just over-friendly fans. Once the pictures surfaced on social media, anti-Kyle phonies, many of whom wouldn't know a Proud Boy from a choir boy, suddenly became hate group experts. We have been told numerous times that
Anyone should have known they were Proud Boys. Anyone would have recognized the weather vane tattoo as a Proud Boy symbol. They sang the theme to Aladdin, for crying out loud. Shouldn't it have been obvious?
listen to Paige Williams in The New Yorker.
Hancock, who has become one of the family's advisors, says that neither he nor the Rittenhouses grasped the meaning of "proud of your boy" or the OK gesture, and didn't realize that any of the men at Pudgy's were Proud Boys. Though Hancock is a security professional, he told me that he hadn't learned the names of the men who had volunteered as lookouts or invited Rittenhouse to the bar.
That's pretty strange.
Explicit clues about the men's affiliations existed in plain sight. When I examined the Pudgy's surveillance footage, I noticed Proud Boy tattooed on one man's forearm. Another man had a tattoo of the rooster weather vane from the Proud Boys logo.
I can guarantee you that even if Paige had been tipped off beforehand that the men in Pudgy's were Proud Boys, she never would have made the connection between the tattoos and the organization. Even if you had said out loud, "Look at those weather vane tattoos," or "Look, they're singing the theme song to Aladdin," she still wouldn't have made the connection. But months after the fact, she becomes an eagle-eyed watchdog for the Southern Poverty Law Center. Just to be clear, I almost certainly paid far more attention to political identity banter than Kyle, and I didn't know anything about the weather vane tattoo. And while I'd heard that the Proud Boys used the Aladdin theme song for their anthem, I had no idea what the song sounded like. The only true males that would recognize the song would be fathers forced to endure the play because of their young children. I mean, you wouldn't catch me dead at a play of any sort, nonetheless something as sissy as Aladdin. Since I doubt Kyle had any tutti-frutti tendencies of his own, or children for that matter, he'd probably never heard the song either. What about Kyle forming the white supremacy hand gesture? Once again, you have to ask, how would Kyle know to equate the okay hand gesture with white supremacy? I tend to agree with Kyle here. He was a 17-year-old kid, not a political hound with nothing but time on his hands to argue about race relations and police brutality all night. Like me. But suppose that Kyle should have known better. Then you have to take into account another factor that everyone but me has forgotten. Beer. Kyle had 3 beers that night. At 150 pounds wet and no real drinking experience, he would have been hammered. And Kyle's mom told me that he was, in fact, pretty lit up that night. Given that, how hard would it have been to get Kyle to make the okay hand sign at the urging of adoring fans? Not that alcohol can't get us to do things we shouldn't do. They don't call it liquid panty remover for nothing. If the Proud Boys wanted Kyle to drop his pants and moon his own mother while French kissing a chicken, he'd have probably done it. Hell, alcohol is even known for making one smash their car into another and then fleeing the police. We arrive at one unmistakable conclusion. If the average person wouldn't have recognized the weather vane tattoo or the Aladdin theme song, why would Kyle? Kyle clearly did not know that the men posing for pictures with him were Proud Boys. There is no sensible argument to even suggest that he should have. It's pretty clear that David Hancock, who is an adult with a far more sophisticated political worldview, didn't know who they were. And almost every one of you watching this video wouldn't have pegged them as white supremacists either. And I don't care what you say. Don't lie to me. Like my video and subscribe to my channel.